Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Acosta, and I am the Library Reserve Specialist here at the University Library. My main responsibility is to make course material available to your students via print reserves and also e-reserves. And in this tutorial video, I'd like to show you a new way for you to do that, and it's called Library Course Materials. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and give you a very detailed look at some of the features that Library Course Materials has to offer both you as a faculty member and also to your students. But first, let me give you a short explanation as to what Library Course Materials is, because you might not be familiar with it quite yet. So Library Course Materials is completely integrated within Blackboard, and it's powered by an interface that we call Leganto. It provides course information as well as access to your course material, all within one central location. And so for me, I feel like the main selling feature for library course materials is that it's all within one central location. Students don't need to navigate to the library's website and have Blackboard open as well. Everything is within that one central location. They just log into Blackboard and they have access to both the materials that you've placed or made available to them within Blackboard, as well as library course materials. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the agenda that we have for this tutorial video for today. I'm going to show you how to create a link within Blackboard to library course materials. I'll show you how to create a reading list or a resource list. I'll show you how to attach an ebook, a library-owned item, a PDF or Word document. And then I'll show you how to utilize the Cite It tool feature within library course materials. And you would use this tool when adding, for example, a video from YouTube, when adding materials from Amazon or from the university bookstore's website. You'd also use it if you'd like to attach an article from Google Scholar, for example, or any other article that you might find on the web. You can utilize Cite It to go ahead and attach that to your reading list or resource list. And then I'm going to go over what's called submitting for library review. And lastly, I will go over the analysis or analytics feature within library course materials. So I do know that Blackboard has some statistics gathering features within it already, but I feel like this analytics feature within library course materials could be very complementary to what you already have existing there. And it's a good idea to have more than one option to gather statistics and a good way to gauge your students' engagement. So while I get things set up for the demo, I'm going to go ahead and play a very short introductory video to Leganto or library course materials for you.
Harnessing the wealth of knowledge and scholarly research is essential to academic teaching and learning. As an instructor, you're well aware that reading lists play a major role in supporting resource sharing and fostering meaningful learning. But how can you know whether the resources on your list are the most effective for your students' learning experience, and that they will be available to your students just when they need them? How can you easily create reading lists and keep them up to date? With Ex Libris Leganto, you create, manage, and enrich reading lists that are structured according to your pedagogic strategy. You can add all types of materials, be they from the library, your desktop, scholarly sources, online bookstores, or the web. Leganto enables you to collaborate with your peers, to draw upon their knowledge, and with library staff to benefit from their help and management of copyright compliance to mitigate risk. Your students gain easy access to all course materials on any device through a single intuitive user interface. They can suggest materials, share their views, and receive feedback from you or their classmates. Aided by usage analytics and reports, you can refine your reading list to better engage your students. And as the library is an integral player in this process, Leganto enables librarians to cater to demand and optimize their collection to meet instructors' and students' needs. Take your reading list to the next level to drive student engagement and foster meaningful learning.
Why don't we go ahead and just jump right into the demonstration. So you would navigate to the university's website, csudh.edu, and then of course log into Blackboard as you usually would. And then when you're ready, navigate to this courses area within Blackboard. And from the courses view, you're going to select which course you'd like to utilize library course materials for. So I'm going to go ahead and use my course shell here. Okay, so from the courses view, you're going to want to create a link to library course materials for your students to access. I like to use this content area. However, you're free to create a separate link or a separate area within the courses view to place that link as well. Okay, so once in the content area, you're going to go ahead and click on Build Content, and then you're going to want to scroll down to this new link that we added called Library Course Materials here. If you click on that, it'll navigate you to this page, and here you can decide to name it whatever you'd like. Today, I'm going to call it Library Course Materials. You can add in any additional information you'd like, but when you're done, you'd go ahead and click on Submit. Okay, so what that's done now is created a link to library course materials, both for you to access your resource list, but also for your students as well. So if you were to click on this link, and it's your first time navigating to library course materials, you're going to see a page that looks like this. So you're of course going to be creating a reading list or a resource list from scratch. So you'd click Create It. So the title that pops up here is directly taken from within Blackboard, but this of course can be changed. So I'm going to name mine Music 101. You can add in a description if you'd like, but when you're done, you'd click on Create. Okay, so this is going to navigate you now to the template window. You'll notice that we've created 3 template resource lists for you to utilize. However, you're free to use this blank option and just create a resource list from scratch as well. For today's purposes, I'm going to go ahead and use this weekly one. And this template just simply separates the week of the semesters up. So you have from week 1 to week 16 here. All right, so to add material within your resource list, you're going to want to click on this Add Items button. And so when you do that, you're going to get a little window that looks like this. And to search for materials that are owned by the library to add to your resource list, you're going to want to click on Library Search. All right, so this opens up what I'd like to think of as a mini version of the library's website. So you no longer have to search within our website itself. You can just search for materials from within library course materials now. But when you do, I would advise that you click on this drop-down button and make sure that you're searching for things that are only owned by CSUDH. Okay, and when you're ready, go ahead and type in either the subject of a book that you're looking for, or you can type in a title if you know that as well. Okay, once you search for the item, you'll notice that you have these additional facets that you can utilize when searching. I'd like to add an ebook. So for me, I'm going to click on this full text online option. And this is only going to show you books in electronic format. So I'd like to use this book. And in order to add this book to my resource list, I have 2 options. I can either just drag and drop it into the area within my resource list that I want to place it, or I can click on the item itself. And then at the bottom, you'll see this option to add it to a different section. If you didn't want to add it into week 1, for example, you can add it into week 2 or week 3. I'm just going to add it to week 1. And then you can go ahead and click on Add. And that will add the item to your resource list now. Okay, so there are some additional options to edit the items as well. So say, for example, you do want your students to read this ebook within the first week of school. However, you want to let them know that they need to read a specific chapter within week 1. If you click on this ellipsis button here, You can click on Edit Item. And to notify your students that you'd like them to read a specific chapter, you'd have to go to this type area, click the drop down, and go down to select book chapter. And so you could say you'd like them to read chapter 2, for example. You can also set a due date for that reading. So say I want them to read it by or before October 7th. You can make any other changes here that you'd like, but when you're done, you would go ahead and click on Save. And now you notice that that update has been made. Your students will know that they have to read chapter 2 within week 1, and that's due by October 6th. You do have an additional option to let your students know here if you utilize this tags section. Let your students know if this is an essential reading, a recommended reading, further reading. I'm going to say that this is essential for them. Oops. And then I'd click on Save. So now your students know what to read within week 1 and that this particular reading is essential. And in order for them to view that particular ebook, all they would have to do is click on View Online, and that will open up a separate tab that takes them to the ebook itself. All right, some additional things that you can edit here. If you were to click on the book itself, you have this public note option. So public note is used for if you want to give a reminder to your students. This is viewable to you as well as your students within your course. So say you want them to focus on paragraph 3, for example, of chapter 2. You could put that note in there and click on Save. You do also have this option for a private note. So this would just be like lecture notes for yourself or reminders for yourself. Things that you place within the private note are only viewable to you. They're not going to be viewable to your students. All right, and you also have this option for library discussion. And so you would use this if there's anything about this particular citation that you'd like to let a library staff person know. You can have that communication here. There's no need to email us necessarily. This might actually be a faster way to communicate it with us as well. So if you go back to the resource list, you'll see that that public note that I added in is viewable to your students here. All right, so that's how you would add an ebook. To add a physical item that's owned by the library, it's very much the same thing. So you'd want to go ahead and click on Add Items, click on Library Search. Make sure you're looking for materials that are owned only by CSUDH. Type in a subject or title. And then if you'd like to utilize the facets to make things easier, since I'm looking for a physical book right now, you can click on Book. And that's only going to show you, it should only show you things that are owned, that are physical items within our collection. And to recognize that, you'll see that it says physical here, and it'll also give you its location. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag and drop this into week 2. I'm going to add a tag on it to say this is recommended reading. Click on Save. And you can make those same changes or edits that you made to the ebook for physical items as well. So if I were to click on the ellipsis here and click on Edit Item, I could have them read chapter 3 in week 2 of this particular book. I could set a due date again. This one's going to be due by October 14th, and then click on Save, and you'll see that that update has been made. If you click on the book, you have those same options to add in a public note and a private note as well. But one thing I'd like to say, when you add physical items to your resource list, this is a new way of adding items or materials owned by the library to course reserves. So you're going to want to click on Library Review when you're done. Because that's going to let library staff know that they need to pull this material from the stacks and make it available at course reserves for your students. So don't forget, when you place a physical item within your resource list, to click on that library review button. Okay, so I've showed you how to add an ebook. I've showed you how to add a physical item. I'm going to go over how to add a PDF to your resource list now. So again, you're going to want to click on Add Items. But when you're adding a PDF or a file of any kind, you're going to want to click on this File option here. You have the option as well of just dragging and dropping a file from your computer into this box, or if you were to click on it, you can search for your item as well from your computer. Once you locate it, just click on Open. It should load it, and it's going to auto-populate the title and author information from the PDF itself, but this is all editable, so you could change it if you'd like. You could add in additional information as well. When you're done, you're going to want to go ahead and select which area of your resource list you'd like to place this in. So I'm going to put it in week 3, and then you're going to click on Add. And you'll notice that that has been added there as well. If I wanted to set a due date for that, of course I could as well. So students are aware, I can say that this one is going to be due by the 21st. Click on Save. So now the due date is here. I can also add tags. I'll say this one is optional. And so just like when you added a physical item to your resource list, when you add files to your resource list, you're going to want to click on Library Review. And so that just lets me know that you've added a PDF or some sort of a file to your resource list. And what I do after that is, or what another library staff person might do, is go through the PDF and just make sure that it's copyright compliant. And we also make the PDFs accessible to your students as well. And so once we're finished doing that, we'll go ahead and publish it. And after we review it and publish it, it'll be viewable to your students. So since there's some additional things that need to happen when you place physical items within your resource lists that are owned by the library and PDFs, my suggestion is that if you're going to utilize library course materials for those things, to try to create and enter in those items within your resource list as soon as you can. And my recommendation is at least 2 weeks before the start of each semester, just to give us time to go ahead and look through your resource list, pull things from the stacks, make things accessible, and check for copyright issues. So yeah, if you can, please try to do that sooner rather than later so we can make your materials available to your students as quickly as possible. Okay, so I went over how to add an ebook, how to add a physical item, and how to attach a PDF to your resource list. Now I'm going to go over this Cite It tool. So to add the Cite It tool to your computer, you're going to just hover over your initials on the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to click on Cite It. So this little blue Cite It box, you're going to want to drag and drop to your bookmarks bar. I've already added mine there, so I'm not going to do that now, but that's how you would add it to your browser for later use. So once you've done that, just click on Close. And so now say, for example, you want to add a YouTube video for your students to view within your resource list. You would just navigate to YouTube, find a video that you'd like to add. And now all you have to do is just click on that Cite It bookmark that you just created. And then it's going to auto-populate the title from the website. You can add in an author if you know that or if you'd like to. Make any other additional updates if you'd like. But when you're done, for this section, it's a little bit different than when adding resources from the library to your resource list, because you'll have to select which course you want to add that to. So I'm going to select Music 101, and then you'll select which section of that course or of that resource list you'd like to place it in. I'll put it in week 4. And then when you're done, just click on Add and Close. And it should take just a second to be added. And so now if you go back to your resource list, you'll notice if you scroll down that that video has been added. And so just like that ebook that I added in the very beginning of the demo, when students want to access this particular video on YouTube, all they have to do is click on View Online, and it'll navigate them right to that video that you've added. All right, so say you want to add an article or a book that you found on Google Scholar, you would do it much in the same way. So if you navigate to Google Scholar and you've searched for a specific book or subject, and there's something that you'd like to add to your resource list, all you have to do is click on that item, and then once again, just click on Cite It. And it's going to auto-populate all the information taken from that website. You can change it if you'd like as well. But when you're ready, after you use Cite It one time, it's going to auto-populate the course. So you can change it if, say, for example, you switched and you're now working on another course, or you can just leave it as is. And then just make sure you select which area of your resource list you'd like to place this. So I'm going to put it in week 5, and then I'm going to click on Add and Close. So now if I go back to my resource list, you'll see if I scroll down that that item has been added as well. And again, you can add, tags to these as well to let your students know this is essential. They need to watch this by week 4. This one is notated as further reading. Click on Save. Okay, so you can also add material from Amazon that you'd like your students to purchase for your course. So to do that, you just navigate to Amazon, find the book or a book that you would like them to purchase. So say I'd like the students to purchase this particular book. Once again, all you have to do is click on Cite It. It's going to add in all that information from Amazon. Select the course and area of the course you want to put that in. Click Add and Close. Now, if I go back to my resource list, that link to Amazon has now been created. And so you can, for example, put in a public note to your students and say, please purchase by week 6. And so now the students will see that note as well. And all they would have to do is click on View Online, and they'll be navigated straight to Amazon and be able to purchase that book pretty easily. So say you don't want to use Amazon, say you would like to use our university bookstore's website instead, you can do that as well. So you would just click on Cite It. Once you navigate to the book, it will auto-populate that information, add it to a specific section of your resource list, and click Add and Close. And now the item has been added to your resource list as well. So I think once you start getting used to utilizing library course materials, you can start to build lists pretty quickly and add to your list throughout the semester pretty easily. I feel like it's pretty intuitive. But if you did have any questions on how to do things, once again, you can always utilize this library discussion option, and we can try to help you and guide you through it, or reach out to any of us, either via email or on the phone as well. All right, so as I said, I did want to go over the analysis feature of library course materials. To access that, you would just click on this bar graph right here. Now, this is just my test course, so obviously it's not going to have any statistics gathered for it yet, or at all. But what it would look like is something like this. So you would see the number of active students, the total events, which is how many clicks each item has had, um, average events per student. You can have a more granular view of looking at it by week, weekly active students. Um, you can see which materials have high usage. So this is student usage is high, total activities, and so forth. So once again, I know that Blackboard does have some pretty great statistics features, but this can be used alongside of that, I feel like, pretty easily. And it's nice to have that additional information to what you're already gathering. Okay, one more feature before I finish with this tutorial video that I'd like to show you. So say you want to utilize a item for multiple courses or over a long period of time. So you don't have to recreate the search every time you're adding to a course. We have this section that's called My Collection. So if you click on the three lines on the upper left-hand side and you go to Collection, you would just click on Add Items like you would in your resource list and locate a book that you'd like to add to your collection. So say I want to add this particular journal. All I would have to do is click on the item itself and then click on Add. And so now that's been added to my collection. So what's nice about that is if I go back to my list, I don't have to recreate that search. As I said, now all I'd have to do is go to collection here, and then that journal is there. And so I can use this across different courses that I may be utilizing library course materials for, or like I said, if you know you're using this from semester to semester, you might forget a specific journal that you used last semester. And so saving it in my collection saves you from having to redo that search or forgetting a title. So as I said, once you start building your collection, once you start using library course materials more often, I feel like it's pretty intuitive and you're able to build your resource lists pretty quickly. But again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, or you can reach out to my colleague, Robert Downs. These are our contacts here, and we can assist you. We can either schedule a one-on-one Zoom meeting, or I'm happy to come into your office hours if you are on campus, and just show you how to build your resource lists or try to assist you with any problems that you might be having. So that's all I have for today's training video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a good rest of your day.